When we start working with agencies, most of them don't actually have a staffing problem. They have an efficiency problem.
So I think when we talk about a process being over processed, it's the fear of what it is versus the flow of it.
Insurance agency efficiency is on everyone's mind right now. Call volume is high and licensed talent is really hard to find, and your teams are starting to feel a little stretched thin. If your agency is feeling overwhelmed, you're definitely not alone. What surprises most agency leaders is this: when we start working with agencies, most of them don't actually have a staffing problem. They have an efficiency problem. In many cases, the right number of people are in place, yet the work is still piling up, stress is running high, and nothing ever seems to get caught up. The real issue is the gap between the industry best practices and how the agency is operating day to day. We have benchmarks for productivity and revenue per team member, but numbers alone don't fix inefficiency. Clarity does. My name is Sarah. I'm a virtual development trainer here at APP. And today I'm joined by Gina from our agency program. And we're going to talk about 15 ways to move from overwhelmed to optimized and create an agency that runs with intention and confidence. So let's get into it. So one of the things that happens with a lot of these agency, Gina, is that they have an inexperienced team. So in your experience, what does that look like?
So it can look a little different per agency and it can be tricky at times. So you may have a team with lots of time on their hands, but they could still be inexperienced. So some areas we look at when it comes to experience are the time with your agency. How long has everybody been there, of course? What experience level do they have with the carriers? You may bring people on from other agencies that know carrier A very well, while other teammates might know carrier C very well. And you want to know what their experience is with insurance in general. Are they coming from a captive world, an independent world? How much training have they had? How long have they been licensed? That all plays into their knowledge. And then a couple last pieces that we look at. I want to know what technology they're using. Do they have experience with the management system we have in place? Or are they more well versed in a different one? And then lastly, and this may arguably be one of the most important, their experience in coverage. Not only speaking to it, but how do we educate somebody on it? How do we make the most of our phone calls to really advise our insureds what they need?
Absolutely. And I think one of the things when you talked about an experience with coverage, sometimes we'll have somebody in our office who's worked in insurance for over 10 years and you overhear a phone call and it's like, did they really just say that? Like, do you not know what that coverage is? And it's really interesting because it's like, if we don't understand it, how are we supposed to educate our team? So one of the things that we say here at APP and how we can build experience with our team is that we have to inspect what we expect, right? And so it's really a good way to do that is by implementing quizzes or games or doing some phone call reviews as well, because that way we're finding identifies areas of opportunity before they actually find us, and our clients are the one bringing this to our attention. So it's really important that we reinforce that training is something that we're always going to do. We're always going to learn something. And so we definitely don't want our team to fall out of touch with their thirst for knowledge and their ability to educate our clients. So another issue that we find with inefficiency is that we have team members who don't work in their pay grade, where they're doing things that you have a service team or a receptionist could be doing. And the thing about it is that, we can always delegate work to unlicensed team members that they can handle. But, you run into a situation where your licensed team members are the only ones who can sell. Your licensed team members are the only ones who can do certain tasks. So it's really important to be able to set job descriptions that really silo your teams into, hey, this is something that you have capacity to do so that we can empower our team to actually delegate that work to the service team to free them up to do some other things. So making sure you have really strong job descriptions is one way to do that. And another way is to make sure that everybody's really clear on what their role is. One of my favorite things I hear all the time is, that's my client. I'm the only one who they want to talk to. And then sometimes you'll talk to that client and they'll be like, who are they? I don't even know who that is. Like, I'll talk to anybody. So definitely making sure that the whole office is on the same page as to who does what and who can handle which tasks to free your licensed team up to do some more things. So, what are some other ways we can tackle some inefficiencies in the office?
I think we should also be looking at our technology that we have and either the lack of how we're using it or if everyone's using it the same way. I know that there's some automation that we can use to help make our workflows more streamlined and increase the efficiency across the board. If I'm not spending all my time sending 30 follow-up emails because the system can trigger that for me, think of what I can be doing with that time. So I think a good way to start with this is to look at the list of all the technology you have. What management system, what apps do I have? What's the client portal like? And the more well versed we can become in that, it can just become another tool that we use to educate our customers, drive them to self service with our technology, and then that will help free up our time.
I love that. So another issue where we see this happen is who does what? Whose job is it anyway, right? Where we have like workflows that are between producers and account managers. And sometimes the account manager will shop every single renewal that comes through the door and they may present maybe 20% of our remarkets, which could be a huge waste of time. So another way to get clarity on roles is through job descriptions, where we want to make sure that everybody knows whose job is what so that we're erasing the double work and also freeing up those who can actually only do certain tasks, can actually focus on those as well. So that's one way to free up some time in your agency as well. Now, Gina, we always talk about over processed processes and like, what does that mean? Tell us about that.
Well, first, it kind of reminds me of like a trendy fad diet. Like, I'm not doing the over process thing. But it makes sense, that you want to make sure that your process makes sense for where you are and that you review your processes every so often within your agency, whether that's quarterly, annually, because as your team becomes more efficient with what's in place, you might be able to add to it to optimize retention efforts or account rounding, or you may need to take from it because the team isn't following it the best way. So I think when we talk about a process being over processed, it's the fear of what it is versus the flow of it. Like you hear people say like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What do I do here? Well, we know that not every process will work 100% of the time. But if we're reviewing it and taking the time to follow the steps, it's meant to help. And I think it's important that when you put a process in place with the team, you're getting the most return back to you. One big time waste can be non-pay cancellations. If you have somebody that's consistently a repeat offender, constantly on the non-pay notice, it may be time to revamp your payment process. You know what I mean? Should we encourage more people to be on EFT to avoid this in the future? So what are we doing now and how will it impact the later?
Absolutely. So another one that's a really big one is the automatic remarket, where we're doing a lot of legwork for some clients who may be like, I don't want to be remarketed anyway. I don't know why we did that, right? So one of the ways that we talk about here at APP is instead of automatically remarketing people, we could replace that with a renewal review where we call the client, we explain what types of coverage they have, and if they're interested in remarketing, then we could go from there. But that way we're kind of getting ahead of the curve and kind of letting them know, hey, your renewal is coming up. And instead of you feeling like you're doing all the legwork and you have to reach out to us to get this done, we're reaching out to you 30 days before your renewal to kind of let you know, hey, these are the options that we have going on. And it's really important to think about remarketing because we're moving into the soft market or the soft market is already here. And it's really important to know that everybody's probably going to want to shop around, but we don't want to assume that that's the case because some people may be really happy with their carrier. They may be happy with the way that their insurance is set up. So we don't want to do that legwork unless we have to. Let's talk about book dynamics. So how have you seen that books are very different all over the country, Gina?
For sure. You may have some agencies that have lots of walk-in clients, those people that want to come in every month and pay their bill with cash, or they want to come in just pick up their ID cards and their paperwork. You may have people that are primarily focused on commercial or walk in traffic if you're on a main road. It just kind of depends what your agency's seeing. But I think the best way to streamline how you approach your overall book of business to maintain efficiency would be to implement your agency standards. Have your guideline mapped out so I know what my agency is all about, how we approach our entire book, instead of trying to accommodate the one or two people in all these different categories.
Absolutely. Another one that comes up a lot is people are really interested in first call resolution. You have some sales agents who are just like, I would love to be able to do first call resolution. And then you have some other agencies in other areas of the nation where they're just like, first call resolution is impossible. Like, we don't even try that here. And it's really important to get your team to embrace and execute first call resolution because it is possible, even in states like Florida or California. It may not be possible for every single call, but if you have a monoline where you've got all the information, you don't want to get into the habit of, oh, because we think it's impossible for a majority of the accounts, we just don't do that at all. And so we actually have an agency efficiency program here at APP. And so if that's something that you're really interested, we could definitely help you get there. But it all starts with kind of moving past the thought process of first call resolution is impossible, because I can tell you on the captive side, they're doing it. They're doing it. They're making it happen. So really, really start thinking of ways that you can get your team to be motivated to at least attempt to try first call resolution. Now, how about over servicing accounts? Do we see that a lot?
Yes. And this one's hard. I mean, I understand we want to give the best service we can for our customers, but there's situations where I may have 8 policies, from my auto to my home to rentals to umbrellas, all of it. And there may be a client that has one. So the challenge that you face is that if you have one client that's on the non-pay notice, like I brought up before, you may be spending time on this one account every single month, multiple follow-ups for what? For them to cancel. Then it's more time to get them reinstated, get an exception, make sure the policy re-downloads is active. Versus a client with 8 policies that pays on time and has everything under control. You want to make sure that you're servicing to the right extent and also letting the customer take advantage of their own self-service options and streamlining as much as they can do on their own.
Absolutely. So, some other ways that we have is having carrier difficulties. Not every carrier is worth its weight in gold. And so, it's really important to establish who you want to work with, who's the best fit for your demographic in your area, and like the benefits that they have. Because again, sometimes we have clients where they're not going to fit with every carrier. But if you have a carrier that tailors to most of your clients and you find that there's a high satisfaction rate, you may want to make that your agency standard to try to get your clients with that carrier. So it's really important to make sure that we have the ability to actually establish who our carriers are. We've also seen agencies that don't have any processes, believe it or not. And lots of the things that we hear them say is like, oh, we've always done it that way. We're just going to keep doing it that way. But times change, technology changes. So it's really important to make sure that we're building up those processes and telling our team members how we can make it a better process for our clients and for our carriers as well. So what other thoughts do you have, Gina?
I think touching on the leadership that's in place at an agency, whether it's strong or if there's a lack of leadership, people want to be told what to do. They don't want to necessarily be micromanaged or bombarded with constant critiques, but having a clear idea of what's expected of me by my leadership team or by my direct manager helps me understand what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it also goes back to like the job descriptions and the roles. I know Sarah's the go-to for anything cancellation related or anything underwriting related. So it saves me the time of asking 7 of my team members who don't know the answer, derailing their days, or calling everyone in the office. What do I do? Knowing who to go to and who's going to guide me and direct me and help empower me to make the decisions on my own in the future.
So another one that we have is lack of training, where some people are like, "Oh, I've worked in the insurance industry for 20 years. I don't need training." But you'll find that if you're very far removed or you move to a leadership role and like you haven't been on the phone in a long time and you do pick up that phone, it feels like it could be very difficult to go back to, I have all this experience, but my experience is dated.
Yeah.
We always hear, I don't have time for training. But if you really have to choose your hard, where it's like, what if you don't train that person? What if they stay and like you have to constantly pick up the slack or the messes that they're making, and you have multiple clients who also know that this team member is struggling as well. So we do need to train people, and we also need to hold them accountable for their mistakes or their ability to complete the training. These are all very important ways to boost your efficiency. And then lastly, we have some outside factors. So what could be some outside factors for efficiency?
These are things that can be hard to plan for because you don't always know when they're coming. For example, you could have a team member that has, God forbid, some sort of illness arise or something that pulls them out of work, which now means their workload has to be distributed out amongst the team, which will add to their plate. You may also see like the market conditions. I don't know if you've noticed, but maybe that's a little tricky the last few years. So these are things that you can't necessarily plan for. But if we bring it back to the leadership team that's in place and knowing that a strong leader will create and plan based on the conditions that are provided. So we're going to assess the situation, create a plan that's sustainable, and then again, review it however your agency fits, quarterly, annually, whatever, to make sure that it's still in line with what you need to accomplish.
Absolutely. So, some key takeaways is that we have to remember that agency efficiency is not about working harder or adding more people. It's about making sure that our roles are clear, your agency expectations and standards are really well defined, and your processes are very intentional. In this way, chaos will start to disappear and performance will follow. So, if you find that your team is ending the day and they're behind or they're buried in service work or they're struggling to resolve issues on first call, these are all fixable problems, and this is something that we can help with. So we actually offer a live virtual training class for agency efficiency, and it's designed for agencies that want their teams to complete their work by the end of the day. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and head over to our website or check out our agency efficiency program. The tools and the benchmarks to reach peak performance, they already exist. The only thing left to do is to use them effectively. So lead your team, lead the overhaul, and your team and your bottom line will thank you. We'll see you next time.